In the metals quadrant, a very weak copper contract is now up 5 of the last 7 sessions as supply disruptions provide a bit of a bottom. The Chiqua mine in Chile, which is the largest producing mine in the largest copper producing country, producing about 1.5% of global copper supplies last year, has been on strike since June 17th. That was about the low price in copper. And although it's not the kind of rally you would normally see during the strike season, I call it the strike season because it's around this time of year every year where a market that is very used to supply disruptions due to work stoppages begins those work stoppages. It usually happens around May, June, and July. Those months are where labor and management tend to get into these conflicts prior to the big mining season. That type of a conflict would normally push global copper supplies down and prices much higher than they've been, but 5 of the last sessions sure is a pretty strong rally given what we've seen of about 6 or 7 weeks down in copper over the last 2 months. Trade talks and tensions no longer hurting the price of copper in the short term. It's really a no news is good news kind of a scenario for copper, with the trade envoys having begun discussions today before the meeting between President Trump and President Xi Jinping that is supposed to take place at the G20 meeting over the weekend. So until we get some negative news out of that, at least that's not hurting copper prices. And again, demand fears still seem to be outweighing the supply disruptions, but at least there's been a bottom put in now. Copper longs can kind of hold on to that hope. And lastly, Powell and Bullard. Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, James Bullard, St. Louis Fed president, really kind of dampened hopes a little bit in the market with some of their conversation about rate hikes being maybe not as on an aggressive path as the market had priced in. There were some analysts saying that if they were going to cut rates, it was going to be 50. There was more an implication that July is on the table, but probably only for 25 basis points. Over time, that should probably still rally metals markets as well as the equities. Before today, it took a little bit of steam out of both as copper was up about 1%, finished the day only up 0.75%, selling off after those comments by those Fed influencers.